Well, Nigeria is one of the world's largest oil producers, but rampant corruption and mismanagement over the years has left many Nigerians wondering where most of the wealth has gone.
Britain's Prime Minister has been heard on camera calling Nigeria and Afghanistan, quote, fantastically corrupt.
Nigeria is one of the largest oil producers in the world. It's also one of the most corrupt.
Corrupt.
Corruption.
Everywhere you go, corruption.
What has made corruption worse now than ever before is the culture of impunity.
Fighting corruption is like fighting a war in a battlefield.
Nigerians, they've actually got some leaders of some fantastically corrupt countries coming to Britain. Nigeria and Afghanistan, possibly the two most corrupt countries.
I think he's being honest about it. He is talking about what he knows.
Corruption simply means injustice. It simply means not giving to Peter what belongs to Peter, not giving to Paul what belongs to Paul.
Taking away what belongs to others, what is meant for all.
When you are qualified for a position, you are not getting the position, somebody will bring his son or bring his daughter to occupy a position, somebody who is not as qualified as you to occupy the position. It's corruption.
I don't need to say contractor, I beg, we must share the money. And when he shares the money, he can't do the work well.
There's no way you walk around with people who are corrupt and you think you can eradicate corruption.
If you go to the car park now, transport to Lagos can be 7,000. But on Christmas time, New Year time, they will say it's 18,000, 20,000. Well, is the road getting longer during Christmas and New Year time?
Anything for the boys? It's a common question in Nigeria, and it is an important question. But we'll get to this later. Corruption in Nigeria began long before its independence from the British in 1960. From as early as 1947, colonial commissions of inquiry were held to investigate cases of corruption. In 1956, the Foster Sutton Tribunal investigated the Premier of the Eastern Region, Nnamdi Azikiwe, for his personal ties in the affairs of the African Continental Bank. The tribunal felt that Azikiwe did not sever his connections to the bank when he became a minister, as was required by law, and continued to use his influence to further the interests of ACB.
Corruption is part of Nigeria's history, is part of us. The only thing that is there for us to do is to work towards reducing corruption.
Corruption being a plague in Nigeria, I would agree, because it's become a very blatant thing, a thing in your face, in your everyday life, in public institutions, in private sector institutions, and generally even in the way citizenry lives our lives. We've become used to it. It's become institutionalized in Nigeria.
Corruption is so rooted in this country.
During the years following independence, various military rulers came into power with different promises and motives to root out corruption in the country. But corruption grew. The regime of General Ibrahim Babangida is often attributed to the massive growth of corruption in the country. The return of monies and assets from the Abacha years is still being recovered 2 decades on. Since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999, corruption continued to be at the forefront of national policy. President Obasanjo's rule from 1999 to 2007 saw corruption showcased on an international level with various multinational bribery scandals. It also saw his failed attempt to alter the constitution to secure a third term in office. President Jonathan's administration from 2010 to 2015 saw an even higher saturation of scandals, both on the international and domestic level, particularly in the oil and gas and banking sectors. The current administration under President Muhammadu Buhari is still dealing with the effects of corruption under Jonathan, as well as its own emerging scandals.
What is the cost of that corruption in procurement processes, which means wastage of public resources, loss of revenue, loss of income, bad roads, bad health services, medical tourism. You could name a lot.
When you have systemic failure, there is nothing you should expect rather than corruption. Today, we have individuals that are more powerful than government institutions. No. It's appalling.
According to the UNODC, the country has lost $400 billion to corruption since 1960. In the power sector, it is estimated that between 1999 and 2017, 11 trillion naira has been lost to corruption. That is $64.7 billion in the current exchange rate. Corruption can be seen in the Nigerian judiciary and its inability to successfully prosecute a governor who was convicted by a United Kingdom Crown Court for embezzlement and theft. This same man was alleged to have bribed an EFCC boss with $15 million cash.
He gave me cash, $15 million in bags, 2 heavy big bags, and I use it as evidence against him.
He received a hero's welcome after serving half of a 13-year jail term in the United Kingdom. Grand-scale corruption that has lasted decades can be seen in the Halliburton case, one that involved high-level officials from the United States and Nigeria. Corruption can also be seen in the education sector, where a snake allegedly swallowed 36 million naira in the care of an exams administrator. Yes, a snake. Beyond the statistics, the cost of corruption to the country is also intangible. It reduces the capacity of government to provide and protect its citizens. It tarnishes the image of the country to the world. It weakens the Human Development Index of the country. Corruption weakens the institutions of the state and disables them from functioning. It also blocks economic growth. Nigeria's transparency ranking has remained in the bottom percentile for the last 2 decades.
In assessing public services, the first thing we do is, how do I provide you with some remuneration that would help you facilitate the time in processing the service I'm trying to get? For example, if you go to the immigration office, you just sit in the immigration office and go and apply for a passport. You will see the beginning of corruption and the end of a corrupt act.
Here in this country, we don't pay good, actions with commendations, and we don't punish wrong deeds with punishments. Then people that steal money, those that have stolen money, are being celebrated in this country. So everybody will want to steal money.
Corruption can be tackled. It may take some time, but with collaboration and a concerted effort to change, it can be reduced. Citizens need to believe that corruption is wrong and not profitable. People should not accept or give bribes or favor kingship over merit. We should be transparent and accountable in all our dealings. So back to the question we asked earlier. Anything for the boys? It's a common question in Nigeria, mostly attributed to the police.
Settle us. Just give us a 10,000 naira, man, I can't come out.
That I will part with my 10,000 naira on a vehicle I did not steal? No, sir. I can't do it. No. Capital no.
But it is also a question that asks if anything will be left for infrastructure development, for investment and progress in critical sectors of the economy if corruption persists. Will anything be left for the child born today to honest, decent civil servants, to have the opportunity and resources to live a decent, prosperous life, avoiding poverty, ill health, and poor living conditions? And if corruption persists, will anything be left for the boys and girls in primary school today when they become the workforce of tomorrow? Anything for the boys?